Next, let's queer up South Florida and Florida. World AIDS Museum and Educational Center unveils new sports HIV/AIDS exhibit. The World AIDS Museum and Educational Center in Fort Lauderdale recently hosted a reception for the opening of the new Sports and HIV/AIDS exhibition. The exhibit, featuring portraits by local artist Djerlens Chery, delves into the intersection of sports and the HIV epidemic, shedding light on the experiences, challenges, and triumphs of the athletes affected by HIV. Jessica Reimers, executive director of the World AIDS Museum and Educational Center, said, quote, "We are here to reduce the stigma surrounding HIV/AIDS by providing access to themed exhibitions like sports and HIV, events, literature, and films. Through this exhibition, we are utilizing art as a tool to inspire change, challenge misconceptions, and generate thought-provoking conversation in the global narrative on HIV in sports," unquote. The World AIDS Museum is a nonprofit organization dedicated to increasing awareness and decreasing the stigma of HIV/AIDS. Their mission includes documenting the history of HIV/AIDS, remembering those affected, educating the public, and empowering survivors. For more information, visit worldaidsmuseum.org. Well, they do a lot of good things. They try to do a lot of good things. Their educational area has been hurt because of the Don't Say Gay and their lack of access to Florida schools. But this is one example of trying to circumvent that and find something that will pull people in. They do have a large focus now on marginalized communities where AIDS is still prevalent, especially in Miami-Dade and Broward County, two of the most affected counties in the entire United States. It also does affect gay people, and we shouldn't forget that. And a lot of times, because of stigma, a lot of these cases in both of those communities go unreported, and that's one reason that people get sick. They're afraid to get help. They're afraid to get medications that prevent the disease and the contagion. The stigma is something that really has to be fought community by community, and the World AIDS Museum is one of those places that tries to take that on. It's shocking that something that started in the late 70s, the early 80s, we still haven't overcome the stigma, and that has caused many people to get ill that never had to get sick.
You know, we did a story, and I think that we did a story, I think Greg was with me, when we had done a story about maybe eradicating AIDS by 2030, right? And then just the other day, what Robert was saying was about Miami-Dade being #1, right? So Black women are #1 in the country with new cases of HIV, unfortunately, right? I just read a study 2 days ago that brown women are #2. I mean, in certain marginalized communities, it's still super prevalent. Please know your status. Education is key. Education is how you do this,
It's not only knowing your status, it's knowing your partner's status. And partners have to be honest. And that's where the stigma comes in. They do not want to admit who they're sleeping with. They do not want to admit that they're not well. And therefore they go into other relationships, whether casual or serious, because they bring it home to their families. Because the stigma of being gay or having bi-sex is still also a problem in a lot of communities, probably a majority of communities. And so it's one thing that leads to the other.
Well, and that happens a lot when it comes to, Black and brown communities, right? It'll be a straight couple, and the man will be on the down low, right? And the woman will not get herself checked because Black and brown people have horrible issues when it comes to healthcare. That's a whole other segment that would take me an hour to even begin. LGBTQ plus have similar issues when it comes to healthcare accessibility, and just having someone, a caregiver, that'll be able to explain things to you correctly. It feels like a million years ago since Magic Johnson came out, publicly with his journey, and him and many other people are living and thriving with HIV/AIDS and are very upfront about their status, yet there's still others that just are not because of this just awful stigma.
We also need to quit it with the condom shaming. I said it before and I'll say it again. If you hooking up with somebody and they pull out a condom, you don't need to turn up your face. You don't need to make a face. Just put the goddamn condom on and get to business. A lot of y'all ain't allergic to condoms like y'all say y'all are. There's been an influx of, oh, I'm allergic to the rubber. It can't touch my skin. I'm allergic. No, you not. Dirty fucking lie. Put the condom on or don't hook up with that person. But do not shame nobody because that's just going to continue stigma of condoms are bad, just breed everybody. And we don't need that right now.
We don't need that.
And we are very lucky to have the World AIDS Museum here.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Bringing it back home.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
We are indeed.